Herman and Bill could send money home to his mother.
Wow.
And they'd maybe take $5 or $10 out for themselves, and the rest of the money the government would send to her for
Oh,
her to live on.
excellent.
Oh, isn't that something?
And it was a very good plan. And they
Mhm.
built those rock walls, like the wall, you know, when you go the old highway.
Columbia Gorge Highway,
Those,
beautiful, yes.
those walls along the, some of them are decaying now
Mhm.
and rotting away, but they built those.
Mhm.
They
That's right.
built, like, or like you said, Mounted
Mhm.
Lodge.
Timberline,
And,
Multnomah Falls, the lodge there possibly, the restaurant
they
lodge.
probably did, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think they need to bring that back today, really, to help
Right.
people out. Seriously.
It got a lot of the boys off the streets, you
Mhm.
know. And
Mhm.
I don't know if they were having problems like we have now of hoods and stuff, but they needed to get them to work.
Well,
Yeah.
sure, I mean, a
And they
lot of
found a
people around
way
work.
to give support to widows, you
Mhm.
know, by employing them.
It seemed to be a good system. I think we're getting more complicated and it's just messing things up.
Mhm.
Okay, so now, that's Dad met Jean, and tell me, where did Bill meet you?
I was working in his mom, he had to put his mother in a rest home, and I was working in the rest home.
Really?
That's where we met.
I don't think I ever heard that. I don't remember. Interesting. So he just took a shine to you, huh?
Or else I took a shine to him. I always maintain the woman decides who they're gonna marry.
Yeah, that's
right.
And the
This is
man's
true.
the victim.
You know, we're just here. Well, that was
Yeah,
interesting.
that's
So
what we
when Sophia needed some time in a rest home, that's how
Yeah.
Bill met you.
Well, she had a stroke.
Mm-hmm.
She and Lydia had been visiting some of the ladies in the neighborhood.
Mhm.
They were walking home and she didn't feel good, but she insisted on keeping on walking, and by the time she got home, she'd had a
Oh.
massive stroke.
Wow.
And they took care of her as long as they could at home,
Mhm.
and then Bill had to put her in a nursing home.
How old was Bill at the time?
24,
Mhm.
or 24.
Mhm.
And, but he lived with his mom and took care of hers
Mhm.
as he got older. And, they lived on 4055 Northeast 15th Street.
4055 Northeast
Uh-huh.
15.
Yeah.
I'll have to go and look up the address and drive by.
Yeah, now it's got a rock wall around it.
It didn't have it then.
No, it was a slope. You had to
Yeah.
mow the lawn down the hill.
Yeah, oh, that was quite popular. A
Wow.
lot of those homes had seen that must have been a style or something,
Yeah.
or the way they built up it for excavation for the house. They might have taken all that dirt, put it up front or something.
Did you write the address down? 4015?
4055.
4055, excuse me. I would have looked at some house, 4015, and went, oh, hey.
Well, a lot of them look the same. You have to know.
Okay, well, do you remember much about the other, I mean, you talked about Lydia, whatever happened with Lydia or Alex? You say Alex passed away?
Well, Alex passed away probably 12 or 13 years old,
Oh.
maybe younger than that.
And the complications were
We have no idea what was wrong
mhm,
with him.
with him.
And the only way we know, we think we know that Ludwig died from a stroke,
Okay.
that he'd had a stroke and he was in bed. And the mom said that she would push the bed up against the wall and put Bill in the back of the father, and the father would lay in bed, and that way she could get her work done.
Hmm.
But then he apparently had enough severe a stroke that he finally passed away.
Well, a stroke seems like it would fit into the game plan from what we are learning about the Schnell side of the family.
Right.
You know, that's something that everybody needs to be concerned about, but it seems to be prevalent because Uncle Bill and my father and, you know, everybody's had little strokes. As a matter of fact, even Sonia had a stroke. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh,
She's had
no.
a slight one. She got over it. This was a few years ago. Just a few years ago, she was alone in the house with the children, and she was cooking. And all of a sudden, she couldn't talk anymore. And I can't remember if it was Samantha, who was the older of the two girls, or Larissa, but somebody called the hospital, says, Mommy's not right. Anyway, Sonia had a slight stroke, and she has regained, she had a little loss of, she has regained considerable from that. So it scared me, because she's younger than I by 2 years, and I went, Sonia, what the heck's going on here? Okay, so that happened to Alex, well, Ludwig, possibly the stroke, and Alex we're not sure of. And then Lydia, whatever went on with her? 'Cause I don't remember much about her.
Well, she married young, and it was a disappointment to her. I can't think of his name. His first name was Lyle, and he ran a parking garage down on Broadway.
Oh, he did.
And he had this garage. He was a good mechanic, and he would tend the cars of all the wealthy men who lived in the Irvington and Alameda district. And they would come and pick up their cars and go to work, and or they'd go and pick the man up and take him to work, and then take the car back and park it, and then go and get him at night and bring him home.
Wow.
Some of the houses didn't have garages, so they would park their cars.
So that's what he did, and she was married to this fellow for a while?
And she was a wonderful waitress. She could get jobs anywhere in the city of Portland.
Wow.
But she married again, and she had a really bad stroke.
Oh my goodness. Did she have children?
No, she didn't have any children.
Oh, doggone.
She lived kind of the high life.
So she had a stroke also?
I think she was like 42 when she had it.
Okay, we'll go to the doctor.
That's right, we're getting
Get them
checkups.
arteries checked right away.
No more Big Macs for you, or me.
Check your cholesterol.
Yeah, keep
Yeah.
on top of that, that's for sure. Okay, did she pass away at 42, or?
Yeah.
Oh, she did? Oh my goodness.
Shortly after that.
Okay. And Henry, I can remember Uncle Henry a lot. I can remember he used to come over to the house and see Dad and share a shot of whiskey in the kitchen. Yeah, I
He
can remember
was,
those days.
He was married to a woman named Audrey. Henry was.
Okay.
And
Oh,
they were
no, excuse me, I'm thinking of Uncle Herman. I'm
Right.
sorry.
You're-
Henry was a little older than that.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Henry was married to Audrey.
And he was also a boxer, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I can remember.
Well,
Henry's a
professional
boxer.
Yeah.
And Johnny was the professional.
Oh, Johnny was professional, okay.
Yeah.
'Cause I remember there was some boxing in the family.
Yeah. And they had two children, Henry and Audrey. They had two children, Elaine and Bobby. And Elaine passed away here a couple of years ago. And Bobby lives out in the Shoals area.
Did he not come to the family reunion at the church we had a couple years ago?
Yeah,
Bobby?
they did.
I believe, yeah.
He and his wife came. Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so that's, and then Herman. Herman's the one I was thinking, the
Right.
one that's, he's younger than, no, yeah.
He's
He's
the
between,
youngest.
between my dad and Bill, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he used to come over to the house, have a shot of
Yeah,
whiskey.
that
That was,
sounds
okay,
right.
that was the one. Yeah.
I didn't know your dad ever drank.
Well, Dad used to, just for medicinal purposes only,
Right.
he would have a fifth of Irish whiskey in the bottom. You open up the refrigerator door, it was down at the bottom. I remember this because
You used
if
to sip on it.
well, no, it's whenever I had a cold or something, or maybe it was just getting on Dad's
Yeah.
nerves, I'm not sure. He would, so to make us, we'd be able to sleep better, we would have a shot of whiskey, just a little, just a little something, then send us off to bed. and we'd be just fine. But not a problem. So, but I can remember when Herman would come over and they would be out in the kitchen talking. You know, they would gather. Us kids would be out in the living room with some watching black and white TV.
Yeah,
But then we'd go in there and Uncle Herman would be telling Dad a story, usually a sad story, because he'd be doing a lot of crying. And they'd be sharing a shot of whiskey here and there.
That's something.
And then generally Dad would be giving Herman a couple bucks, and then he'd be gone his way.
yeah.
I remember those days.
Huh.
Yeah.
So,
With-
anyway,
But
what would,
anyway, Johnny, I don't remember Johnny's wife's name right now, but she ran for a long time, Portland had a red light district.
I've heard of this.
And she ran a house of prostitution, and Johnny helped her in it. But Johnny was a professional boxer,
Mhm.
and he had just won the Pacific Coast lightweight title
Excellent.
when this woman's ex-husband went after him with a knife
Oh,
and
my
ended his boxing career.
Oh, my goodness. So, what kind of, did it end his life also, or did it just cut him up
It
pretty
cut
bad?
his face and his arm and hand
Oh.
some way, so his reflex was gone,
Oh, my goodness.
But he was living the high life too.
It sounds like they were, catering to many people.
But
That's interesting.
then then he went up to, I guess, Montana or Wyoming and worked in a mine, in the coal mines. And Bill got a call from the sheriff, and he was down and out, and they needed someone to come and get him. So Bill gave Herman the money, and Herman went up there and picked him up and brought him home. And, he was sick for a while, and he had a room downtown, and then he came and stayed with us for a while,
Mhm.
and then he went out and lived with you folks.
Mhm.
Do you remember that at all?
I can't really put a bunch together with that. That had to be, do you remember what year that might have been? Because I must have been very young at the time.
I'm sure you were. But anyway, he got really sick, and your dad took him to the hospital, and he couldn't breathe, and so they did a tracheotomy on him. But he had black lung so bad they couldn't get into his trachea,
Really?
and so he died at the hospital.
Oh, my
That was
goodness.
Johnny.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he got that just from working in the mines in Montana, probably. huh?
That's what they claimed, but we didn't know enough about.
Mhm.
But you could maybe go after somebody for
Yeah.
black lung disease. But he
See-
didn't have any wife or children. Who would you
No.
fight for, He was gone.
Mm. That's a shame.
But,
So did Johnny's wife, did they get a divorce?
um,
You think,
well, I don't ever remember a divorce, but they separated
Mhm.
anyway.
or-
She went on her way, and
Mhm.
we just sort of lost track of her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we would go out to their house. They would call at Christmas time and say, "We've got a present for Grandma, would you please come and pick it up?"
Mm.
And so a couple of Christmases, we went out there and picked it up, but that's the only contact I had with his wife.
Mhm.
Huh.
Did she stay in her business for quite a while, or?
Yeah, the last time I heard, she was still in it,
My goodness.
that along with some cocaine, and
Wow.
she
Wow, what a
got mixed
business.
up.
Well, that's the high life, I guess, Interesting how they say skeletons. I don't know if there are skeletons in a person's closet, so to speak, but in very interesting past.
Mhm.
It's how when you have 7 children, how each may be somewhat different, and the people they get associated with, how they may also be different, and how your lives take these different roads.
Right, and it's your association that develops the path you take.
Mhm,
If you're a leader, you lead them your way, and if you're not a follower, why,
mhm.
you follow. And there's something in this book, I had to laugh.
I see that on the stands today, yeah.
Anyway, it says you shouldn't tell all your family secrets.
It's probably not a good thing to know the whole truth.
Well, when you want us to take the sound down, we will.
Exactly. This is when our jaw drops.
Yeah, everybody will just see us go. There won't be any sound.
Cut that one out. Take two.
Well, that's interesting, because a lot of this either I don't remember, or I maybe hadn't heard before. I'm sure I've been told quite a bit before in Ardith, and my memory just
I'm sure
is
your
not a steel
dad
trap.
did, but
Yeah.
your youth, you were separated so much from your dad
Mm-hmm.
and your mom too.
Well, it was, you know, I even though my parents weren't together the entire time, I still, maybe it's because I'm quite a naive